Well, it's that time of year when I gotta feed everybody hay and keep them up close to the barn. I've got that little pasture out front still. I'll probably let them out there another day or two. They can finish that up, but as far as grazing on pastures, that's over for this year. We got plenty of hay, and the two big ones are gonna go in January. But it's a changing of the seasons when they go from pasture to winter, and it's not something I look forward to too much, other than everything slows down here. And people say, what do you do all winter? And I say, well, we don't, because we don't. But anyway, I'd sure appreciate it if you hit like and subscribe and comment. We like to hear what you guys have to think, what you guys think or have to say. So we appreciate all that. But anyway, without any more jibber-jawing, let's get back to Super C. This Super C fortunately has the updated battery box on it, which is more than one piece. The older ones were a solid battery box like on the Farmwell Cub, and you had to remove the whole assembly with the battery in it and then pull the battery out from the top. This one has a couple pieces on it, and so you just have to take out these 9/16 hex cap screws. There's 3 of them. Take these out. You gotta remove your touch control on this side. The choke lever will bend up over it. You have to get around the base of the battery, and your wiring harness is right there too. So you have to get around it. Got some mice in there, so we're gonna take care of that problem. Gotta love mice. At least it's not down some places where they have snakes that crawl up and stuff. I don't have that problem here, thankfully. When I was in the Seabees, we were down in Mississippi, and it was like April, and they told us we had to go bang on our graders before we were out there driving the road graders. And I was like, why do you want to bang on the grader? And so I took a stick and I banged on the side shield of the engine of my grader, and this big black snake fell out. The thing was huge. It scared the crap out of me. I don't do well with snakes. Bring the battery in for the winter. I guess if you only got 1 or 2, that's a good idea. I have a lot of them, and I guess I could take them all off and bring them all in, but I just never do. I figure I got this all out, I might as well spray it. Well, I got this all apart. I'm going to take this old strap here, which is kind of corroded and junky, and I want to replace it with this one right here. So this one's junk. I'm going to get rid of it. I got this one here. It's too short. Some people will use number 2. I don't like number 2. I like 0. It's a heavier gauge cable, and think of electricity like you think of a water pipe, and you want the bigger ones to conduct the amperage. The voltage is like how much water pressure you got, and the amperage is the volume going through it. So if you have too small of a cable, you won't be able to get the volume through, and then your cables will heat up, and that's never a good thing. I've seen these grounded in different places. I've seen it grounded down here on the torque tube. I've seen them grounded up here, and this one was grounded here, which is fine because there's an isolator between the tank and the bracket. Ideally, what you want is your battery grounded to the engine block, or as close to there as you can. And when you mount it here and you plug it in here, you've got a bunch of bolts going through, so it'll work. I think my 200's grounded there, but this one was grounded here, so I'm going to put it back, and this one's a little bit long, but it'll work. I need to take this guy off and put it on here because I don't have one. So my 7/16 socket's missing. So we'll take this metric one, which is an 11. Use that real quick. So that's off. Doesn't really matter with this one which end you put in it. I like the battery disconnect switches too. It's like a Frankenstein switch that you can use to disconnect the battery when you're not using it. Just don't forget to reconnect it when you go to restart your tractor, because you won't have any juice and then you'll be there for a while trying to figure out why you don't have power. Tighten this back up. So when I put this back on, I'm gonna spray this. This is John Deere battery terminal protectant, and it just it's like a lubricant for dissimilar metals. And so you got this and that, and it'll keep the corrosion out. You can use dielectric grease. The old timers would just use you know, lubricating grease from your grease gun and put it on that, and that would help too. But I spray all these terminals before I put the cables on. People will say, geez, why are you putting stuff on your tank? You're gonna scratch it. Well, I don't mind. I try not to damage them, but I am gonna use them for a tractor. Spray this bolt a little bit. You can use Never Seas too, that will also work. It works as, it's just a lubricant. When you have dissimilar metals, meaning you have two metals that aren't the same, say steel and aluminum or lead in particular, copper and steel, copper and lead, copper and aluminum, they corrode, so you don't want that on your batteries. A bad ground, a bad electrical connection is a big pet peeve of mine, and it'll cause a whole bunch of issues if it's not. You got to be careful about your electrical grounds and your electrical connections. And so it's positive ground. So we got this hooked on here. Let's see. These usually like to only go on one way. Be kind of careful with these because it is lead and it won't take much bending back and forth before it breaks. Somebody's shooting out back again. I remember my father wasn't a big fan of target shooting. And it wasn't because he was against it. It was just because when he was brought up in the Depression, he didn't waste ammunition. They hunted for food, him and Grandpa. And you didn't waste ammunition. So if you were going to shoot a bullet out, you better be sure you were getting something back out of it. In the military, when we qualify with the rifles, they'd often ask us if we wanted to sight in. You'd get 40 or something to sight in, and you'd qualify with 40. And most often, I would take 10 or so to sight in and then just qualify, because I'd get a headache squinting down. So I just do pretty well doing it that way. Don't beat on your battery terminals. I'm just using the back of a screwdriver to tap it on. The old timers didn't waste much. My grandmother would make a pot of beans on Saturday night and they were still eating them by Wednesday. Even when I was a kid, you ate what Mom made or you didn't eat. You didn't throw your supper in the trash and then come back an hour later and make something else. you really want to be careful with this side because that's your hot side. You don't want to start tapping your fuel tank and everything else with it, so it's always best to try to position it so you can get in there. A lot of times what I do, I don't have it on me right at the moment, but I take box wrenches and I'll tape them up with electrical tape, so if I do tap something, you don't get the light show. I'm just gonna turn the switch on and see if the lights come on. Yep. Good. The sayings the old timers have with these old tractors when you start them off the side is to shake hands with it. So you have it neutral and you pull it back and forth a couple times. Choke, switch on, just throttle it 1/3. I've said this before with these tractors, if you, with a Super C or a 200 or whatever, you look down here, you can see on the floor that's got the markings for the gears. If you take the lever, go all the way over, and pretend there's a gear straight up in reverse, shove it ahead like that. When you go to put it in gear here in first, it slides right in every time. If you don't do that, there's something with the carrier and they grind. This is my third Super C, and I've had two 200s and a 230. They all have the same transmission, and they all do the same thing. And so the trick I've learned, if you shove it, like pretend there's a gear there, but there isn't, you shove it ahead, come back and go in first, and never grind at one time. Take it for a little ride down the driveway and back, and don't put it away. It's supposed to rain all week. Mufflers don't come black, they come that gray primer color, and I take high temperature stove paint from Rust-Oleum and I spray paint them, and it keeps them from rotting out. I don't put a clamp on the bottom. They end up rotting on there anyway, and then you can't get it off. And if you got to go through a low clearance, it makes it a lot easier to take it off. I know people with really shiny tractors don't like to do that. They like to clamp because sometimes you get soot and ash on your hood. But I run a farm here and I run my old tractors. I'm not going to have tractors that I can't use. I like them to look nice, but I'm not going to worry about a little bit of ash or dirt, especially not manure. These old drills were made to work, and that's what they did. They work. Hear that squeaking? I might be out of gas. I'm out of gas, but I'll show you a little trick I learned. Well, it's a gravity feed tank, and there's still gas in there, but I was going uphill. So if you flip the tractor around the other way, there's enough gas in there to get back home. up, buddy? Normally there's only two things that'll make your tractor quit like that. One is if your coil wire came unhooked, and the other is if you're out of go-go juice. Those plastic EPA approved gas cans, I'll never use those. I've spilled more gas with those than I've ever dreamed of spilling with a metal one. And here in Maine you can't get ethanol free gas. Some places in New Hampshire will have it. And so I put this stuff in the marine stable. This is better than the regular stable. Don't ever put dry gas in with your ethanol gas, because you just basically add more alcohol in, which separates the water even more, and it doesn't solve anything. Ethanol gas is, 15% dry gas, so don't need it. I just put enough gas in here, a couple swallows, if I can get it back up to the shed. I don't want to store a lot of gas in it. I don't know how many more times I'll use this fall, so I don't want to put a tank of gas in there and sit for nothing. They shift a lot better if you throttle back first. Why I like narrow front end tractors, or one reason. Makes putting them away a lot easier. I'm gonna go slow when you come in here, because I don't want to drive the sheet metal into that concrete back there, so you can kind of ease her in. Make sure the cup tire was out of my way. Good enough.
If you haven't already, please take a moment, hit subscribe down bottom, like, share, comment down below. We love to hear what you all have to say, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you.